This week, the Productivity Commission confirmed what most Australians have known for a long time. And we didn't need a report to tell us that the government has been asleep at the wheel when it comes to executing supply-side reforms. And from that report, it concluded that the national income for each working Australian has collapsed by a whopping $4,600. And it's a sad indictment when the population has a better sense of what's happening than those who are actually meant to be steering the ship, reinforcing the notion that our elected officials are living in ivory towers removed from reality. Furthermore, the Commission warns that the weakest productivity growth in 60 years will continue to dampen our living standards. The federal government's chief structural policy advisor said that a decade of dismal performance has cut our national income by that $4,600 per person. And while Australia's stagnation mirrors other rich countries, Australia has slipped in per capita income rankings because companies continue to fail to reach innovation frontiers with governments stuck in antiquated service delivery. Even after 5 years post its Shifting the Dial report, where it found governments were the key impediment to essential reform, little has changed. Many economists claim one consequence of the pre-pandemic productivity slowdown is a gradual decline in neutral real interest rate, which has meant the level of the cash rate was even more restrictive than in the past. Now, just on Tuesday, the Reserve Bank raised its cash rate target to 1.85%. And 2 weeks ago, RBA Governor Philip Lowe said productivity growth is the only way to sustain stronger growth in real wages. The strategic challenge for us as a nation is to do what we reasonably can to lift our productivity growth. And then on Tuesday, Treasurer Jim Chalmers said Labor would be fixing supply-side issues to make the job of the Reserve Bank easier, not harder. What that really means is to try and make the economy grow faster without adding to these inflationary pressures, Chalmers said. Now, last week, Chalmers said real wages are expected to start growing again in 2023-24. And yet, former OECD head of structural policy analysis, Dan Andrews, said reforms to enhance economic dynamism that support worker mobility to higher wage jobs and the upscaling of innovative firms are vital. The review ordered by the Morrison government in February targets a lack of progress in educational attainment, upgrading health service models, regulation of pharmacies and land tax reform. We go on, in the past decade, Australia's annual productivity growth was 1.1%, the lowest rate since the 1970s. If it had grown at 1.7%, a rate consistent with the average over the past 60 years, gross national income per person would have been around that $4,600 or 6% higher in 2020. And while incomes and consumption have kept growing, Australians are working longer. The Productivity Commission said if we were able to meet productivity levels of countries with the same GDP per capita, such as Belgium, the nation would be able to get a leisure dividend of about 1 fewer day per week for each working Australian. Brennan said the greatest potential for improvements was in the services sector, where 90% of Australians work, accounting for 80% of national output. The Commission identified 4 areas of policy focus of key enablers of productivity: innovation and diffusion of new processes and ideas, data, digital technology and cybersecurity, a productivity-friendly business environment, and a skilled and educated workforce. The final report will be due in February and will quantify the impacts of reform options where possible and set out a reform roadmap that helps secure a higher productivity future. The Productivity Commission says, well, that's what the Commission hopes, but on the balance of probability, governments are renowned for being asleep at the wheel. And from there, it's us Australians that suffer. Let's just hope the government wakes up before we have a major economic and social crash.